Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of The Small Business Show right here at ASBN.com. The month of May is recognized as Small Business Month. So on today's show, we're learning more about how AI is powering business operations in ways you've never imagined. From automating routine tasks to providing insights on the needs of restaurant managers, ClearCOGS is a clear answer to many in the restaurant industry. On today's show, we're pleased to welcome the CEO and co-founder of ClearCOGS, Mr. Matt Wampler. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us here.
Jim, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So tell us first and foremost, before we get into the solutions that you provide at ClearCOGS, tell us a little about your entrepreneurial journey and what your career background was to position you for this new company.
Yeah, it's funny how we end up where we are. I started out in restaurants, sleeping on the floor, turning a restaurant around, and slowly growing it from there. And ClearCOGS is really something that was bred out of the pain that I had on a daily basis as a restaurant operator.
That's fantastic. So tell us about ClearCOGS and the challenges that you're addressing in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, look, running a restaurant's really hard. It's the sum of a lot of really small decisions as to whether or not you make money. And we all know making money in the restaurant industry is not the easiest thing. Right. So ClearCOGS is really focused on how do we empower operators to be more efficient and make more money. And like the place that we've really spent a lot of our time focusing on is managing food costs. Food waste is a huge problem in this country. I think 40% of all food is wasted. And the carbon emissions from that is greater than the entire airline industry.
Oh my gosh.
Restaurants are it's kind of crazy. And restaurants are no different. So we focus on how can we tell the bagel maker the perfect number of bagels to bake so they don't waste any, but they also don't run out.
Sure. So drill down a little bit. How do you tell the bagel maker the right number of bagels?
We do it through data. So we tap into their data and we use AI. And it sounds like a scary thing, but the truth is it does a lot of tasks that, a manager could probably do. We're going to go look at how many everything bagels you've sold for every 15 minutes for the past 10 years, how weather affects it and holidays and the day of the week and your trends. We do that for every ingredient so that you can get the right numbers when you need them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about the starting of the company. Was this something that you saw a need for when you were in the restaurant industry to say, we've got to come up with some kind of AI or technology to help us figure all of this out? Or walk me through the beginning of it.
You know what? It was one of those aha moments. So I'd run restaurants for a long time and then got into programming and data science. And it was just a light bulb like, man, the hours I agonized trying to keep Excel spreadsheets up to date and running product to stores when we got low. It was like technology can do this for us. Why isn't it? And that was the need we went to go fill. And so that was the mission that drove us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you, I guess, and a co-founder just got together and said, let's build this technology.
Yeah, it's never that straight of a line, right? So me and my co-founder, Rosa, who is owed most of the credit, he's the tech guy that you wouldn't want the restaurant guy programming your AI. But yeah, no, it's one of those you started out and said, hey, look, there's a need here in the restaurant industry. How can we help them? And you talk to more and more restaurants, ask them about their problems. And slowly but surely, we found our way down this path. And once we implemented the technology in a test store, we cut their waste by 54%. We said, wow, we should start a company. This is needed out there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So were there any roadblocks, whether it was, or I should say, was there any competition in this space that you had to deal with?
It's kind of an emerging field. I think one of the things that we struggle with is the fact that we are not something that currently exists. So going to restaurants and explaining, hey, you can actually run out less frequently and waste less food.
Yeah,
is one of those, they just don't believe it in a lot of ways. And that's the power of technology and the power of AI today.
So are you focused on any one particular sector of the restaurant industry? Is it quick service, or is it, talk to me about that.
Yeah, we are applicable to all restaurants. We love the fast casual, QSR segments, areas where they have prepped a lot of food. Think of a Chipotle style restaurant where I have all this prepped food that may not carry over to the next day. How do we get them the right amount of food at the right time so that they're not wasting it?
Yeah, sure. It's got to save thousands of dollars for some restaurant chains, right? Or millions of
It,
dollars, I should say.
it's more in the millions. I mean, it's just a big number.
What are the biggest challenges getting started in this?
That's a really good question. So we struggle with different things every day,
Hmm.
and I would say it's the sum of, like, in most small business, businesses out there. It's not necessarily one giant strategic call. It's every day you wake up and you have new challenges, and
Right.
how do you fight through them and just get to the next step?
Sure. Did you talk to others in either your family or your circle of influence there that did you run the idea by them? And if so, what kind of feedback did you get before you took this on?
Outside of the fact that I'm a little bit crazy, and why would you ever want to go do that? No, yeah, we talked to everybody. Probably at nauseum. If you were some guy on the street, I would love nothing more than to stop you and ask you about our idea and why it's wrong. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we spend a lot of time asking is, what are we missing? Where are we wrong? Tell me all the things wrong with it.
That's right. That's right. And then lo and behold, obviously technology doesn't come cheap, especially when you're talking about AI. Talk to us about the funding. Was this something that you guys bootstrapped for a while until you found the funding, or where does that lie today?
You know what? It's funny. So we grew up in the era where there was no funding. We've
Yeah.
had to scratch and claw our way for every dollar we've raised. And you know what? I think we're a better company for it. I think that, I certainly talk with a lot of founders that, were raising lots of money back in 2018 and 19. And, they run their businesses one way. And some of us companies that were more bootstrapped and came up after, the markets tightened up, I think it's been actually a healthy thing.
Yeah, for sure. So what is the future? If we're sitting here 5 years from now, what does ClearCOGS look like? Are you in terms of the footprint? Are you in every state? What kind of gross sales are you shooting for? What does that look like?
So look, we live in a world today where restaurant operators that master the cold analytics of the business, think your big, McDonald's type
Yeah,
places, are winning. We imagine a future where the people that bring the magic, that create those experiences, that bring the great food, that those guys are the winners, and they win by the cold analytics of it.
hmm,
And so what we're creating is the first AI operations manager for the restaurant industry, your digital fractional COO, CFO, that's there to run the numbers, tell you about your limited time offering, what you should offer, when, where your pricing should be at, how much you should prep, when you need to cut somebody. And, what's kind of crazy is this was our, 3 to 5 year plan, but with the advance of generative I mean, that's moved, that took an 18-month time cycle down to 18 weeks. So,
sure.
it's a really exciting time in the industry.
That's great. I recently saw in an article from QSR Magazine that McDonald's has now opened its first all AI restaurant, basically, right? Basically
Yeah.
robotics, and there's no employees in this restaurant.
McDonald's is, it's kind of crazy. They are best in breed. They run a great organization at scale. It's very impressive what they do.
Yeah, yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, they're kind of like the grandfather of the fast food franchise industry, right? So who better to come up with this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the thing that is always difficult is, while they are 10 steps ahead, when you go down to your local bagel place, right? They are 10 or 20 years behind.
Right.
And you know what? Those are the guys that need it the most. And
That's right.
so it's, how do we empower those guys to be more successful?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. A good friend of mine has a small restaurant, and he said, if I could just squeeze out another $200 a day of profitability, and at the end of the month have another, $6,000 sitting in this account, he said that might make the difference between staying open and closing. Just $200 a day. So I'm sure something like
200.
this will bring a restaurant owner to much more than $200 a day in savings.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy if you just save them $10 a day.
Yeah.
That's another, $3,600 a year. And when you're in the business that's, a few percentage points, that makes a huge difference.
That's right. That's right. What advice would you give to others that are considering going into their own business for the first time?
Know that it's a lot of work
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun. You gotta, more than anything else, enjoy the ride.
That's right. That's right. Every day's a new day, right?
Every day's a new day.
That's
And
right.
it's not one day it's going to be successful and I'm going to always work towards that one day. It's like you got to enjoy every day, and there's ups and downs, but you got to enjoy the ride.
That's fantastic. So, Matt Wampler, CEO and co-founder of a company called ClearCOGS. I'm sure you're going to be hearing more about this company. They're doing great things for so many restaurant owners around the country. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We very much appreciate it. We'd love to do a follow-up with you in the coming months to see how the business is moving along.
Love that. Thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.